What's up, everybody? This is Tony Lopez with Alternative Living Spaces, where we convert shipping containers into luxury homes. Recently, there's been a YouTube video that has gone out. It's gone viral. It's got over 2 million views right now as I record this. And the title of the video is that shipping containers are a scam. And so definitely a catchy title. Definitely got a lot of clicks. And so we're going to be addressing that topic today. It's going to be an excellent episode. You're not going to want to miss it. Now, if you're not familiar with the video that I'm referencing, I'm going to put the link in the bio. I'd encourage you to check it out. While I'm not a fan of the title of the video, I think ultimately the heart behind the video was to raise important questions as it relates to container homes. A lot of times, she makes the point that container homes get glamorized. There's a lot of content on Pinterest, YouTube, Instagram that might show all the positive sides of container homes and not really address some of the more challenging aspects of a container home. And so I do appreciate that this is bringing up an important topic to discuss. In her video, she actually lists 7 reasons or 7 challenges with container homes. And so we're going to dive right in. The first challenge that she presents is the size of the container. Shipping containers are not large, right? If you get a 20-foot shipping container, the dimensions are 20 feet by 8 feet. That's 160 square feet. If you get a 40-foot container, it's going to be 8 feet by 40 feet, making it 320 square feet. That's tiny. But at the same time, there are people that are interested in tiny living. There are people that are actually interested in container homes because the size of them is small. That also correlates to affordability. If something is less square footage, there's less materials going into it, there's less labor going into it, it's going to be more cost effective. And in today's society where cost of living is really increasing so much, especially in urban cities, there really is an interest in alternative living, in finding a way to live smaller. Me and my wife just purchased a cargo van. We're interested in converting it into a camper van, and it is a lot smaller than a container, and we've even been entertaining the idea of living in it full time. Why? Because it's less cost of living, less headaches, less stress. I think there's a lot of people out there that are interested in maybe having a little bit more freedom in their life and a little bit less bills. And it reminds me of that age-old adage that less truly can be more. The second challenge that she brings up is related to the structural integrity of the containers. She makes a point that anytime that you cut into a container to put a door or a window, it's going to require reinforcements. And she's spot on this point. This is definitely something to take into consideration when building a container home. If you cut out a large door, you're going to require additional reinforcement. A lot of people think that all the structures in the 4 corner posts of the containers, you can cut out all the sidewalls and it's still going to be structurally sound, and that's simply not true. If you cut out a door, you cut out a window, it has to be reinforced properly. What we typically will do is on our door and window cutouts, we'll use 2x2 or 2x4 steel reinforcements. And you basically have tubing that then frames in where that window is going, and then you can have floor to ceiling posts on both sides for additional structural support. At the end of the day, we've done a lot of container homes, and if you're doing a single container conversion, a 20-foot or a 40-foot container, while this is definitely something to take into consideration, it certainly shouldn't be something that steers you away from doing a container home. On the flip side, if you're going custom and you're looking to combine multiple containers, you want to really think through this side of things and realize that, hey, while you can do a lot of crazy things with containers, sometimes it's going to cost more. And if you're willing to spend that extra money on it, that's great. If you're on a tighter budget, be wise about how you're doing your reinforcements. And this is ultimately where a structural engineer is needed. Just like any home you build, it's going to have to go through engineering, going to get their stamp to ensure that it's a quality product. You're not going to have any issues. No exceptions with container homes. Still need to go through that process. All right, challenge number 3. This one is related to insulation and condensation. So if you're looking to do a shipping container home, you got to make sure it's insulated properly, right? So you have to keep in mind the container is metal. That means it's a conductor. If it's cold outside, it's going to be cold. If it's hot outside, it's going to be hot. So with that, you're going to want to insulate it properly. You're also going to want to consider, what color are you painting the exterior of it. If you're in the desert, painting it black may not be the best option, right? Paint it a color that's going to be a little bit more reflective. Go with light gray, go with white, do some crazy color, that's all good. But as it relates to insulation, you really want to be wise here. There's a few different options. Probably the most common option that I would recommend is just spray foam insulation. Spray foam has an R value of an R7 per inch. So if you're framing out your container home with 2x4 wood studs, you can get 4 to 5 inches of insulation in there, have an R value of R28 to R35. You're going to be in great shape. Standard construction as far as walls, you're looking at about R19, so you'd be far exceeding that. And then for the ceiling, you can also get creative. You can do spray foam, additional layer of bat foam. That's going to prevent you from having any condensation issues, and ultimately make sure it's a space that in the summer is nice and cool and in the winter is nice and warm. All right, challenge number 4. This one is related to health risks of container homes. She makes the point that in some situations with used containers, they may have shipped or transported toxic goods. The floors may have been sprayed with chemicals. Certainly valid points. And for those reasons, we actually only use one-trip shipping containers. So if you ever get a build from us, it's always a one-trip container. This means that it was manufactured sometime within the last probably 18 months. It's come from overseas directly to a port here in the US, and then we purchase it from there. So for us, we're based out of Las Vegas, Nevada. The closest port to us is Long Beach, California. And so we get our units directly from there. As a one-trip container that was built in the last few years, you're ensured that the paint is not toxic. There was no toxic goods shipped. It was dry goods. And on top of that, we do additional things just to seal the floors. So we add a layer of epoxy. You can always do a layer of insulation over those floors as well. Or in certain situations, you can actually remove the floors and put in new ones. So while it is a important topic to discuss, if you stick with a one-trip shipping container, you're going to be in great shape. Challenge number 5. All right, so for this one, it's related to transportation. This one is something that really isn't that big of a challenge. It's basically just saying, hey, if you're looking to use shipping containers, especially if you want to use one-trip containers, you're going to have to import them to where you're located. So, us being here in Vegas, we'll be getting them from Long Beach, California. They get delivered here on a truck. And that's something that if you just contact a logistics company, they're going to be able to help you with. Or you contact a container company. A lot of them already deal with that side of things. So don't be intimidated. It's not that complicated. If you're looking to get a container, call a container company. They'll make sure it gets to your property. And most likely you can find someone nearby around you that's selling them. I know here in Vegas, they're all over. Really anywhere you go in the country, people are selling containers. And so you're going to be in good shape. Challenge number 6. This one is related to environmental savings. There's a lot of information online that says by building a container home, you're saving the environment, you're choosing a sustainable product, you're being eco-friendly. And she ultimately raises the question of, is that really the case? What I would argue is that if you're living in a container home and you're choosing to live tiny, then yes, that would be true, right? So a good way to think about this is if you are living in a 40-foot shipping container, you're looking at using 2x4 wood studs on the inside to frame it out. You're going to be using and consuming a lot less materials, a lot less natural goods than if you were to build a 3,500 square foot home. So I think in some cases it could be, in some cases it can't, but if you're choosing to live in a smaller footprint, which I think is by nature a little bit about what container homes are all about, then yes, I think you really are helping the environment. All right, we are now on challenge number 7. Had to think there for a moment. This is honestly one that's really close to my heart, right? So she makes the point here that one of the 7 reasons that container homes are a scam is that they don't actually solve the affordable housing problem. The whole reason that I got into business 4 years ago was for that very reason. The way I started the business is I remember going home, visiting my parents, and at the time my dad was building my sister a treehouse in the backyard. It was probably 120 square feet. I remember seeing it and thinking, oh my gosh, I could live in that. And it inspired me to think about tiny living, smaller living, and the containers just fit perfectly with that. Now, her point is that this doesn't actually solve the housing problem. Ultimately, I think this is an incredible solution to the housing problem, is that we could actually have housing that is within a 20-foot by 8-foot space that has everything that you need. And so this has been a passion project for me. We've developed what we call our studio model. It's a 20-foot container that has everything that you need for full-time living. It's awesome if you're a bachelor. It can be used if there's 2 people, but ultimately it's a solution to affordable housing. And the container homes really aren't the challenge or the issue with that solution. They really do provide a great answer. The real challenge is zoning. You know, I know here in Nevada, for example, you can't actually live in a small home. You know, if you buy a piece of property and you want to put a container home on there and it is 160 square feet, it's not going to be approved, because here in Vegas, where I live, there's a minimum square footage requirement for a home that is 900 square feet. And so ultimately, until the zoning laws can change, which I'm very optimistic about, that's the real challenge. You know, so I think container homes are an amazing option. We just need help from local legislation, zoning department, building department to get on board, for local governments to get on board and start supporting tiny living. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video where we went over the 7 challenges to shipping container homes. You know, I think you can be encouraged that even though there are some challenges, there are solutions to all of those challenges. And with that, you know, I'm inspired to really create a video about the 7 reasons why I like container homes and why I think they're an awesome option for housing. I'm going to be having that come out here shortly. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it. And please subscribe below if you'd like to see more of our content. We're looking forward to getting you more information on container homes and continuing to educate you on how to build your own. Thanks.